Hey guys, so in this video I'll be using my Darkness Sith assassin named Vixen on the Shadowlands and her operations training dummy to demonstrate the biggest change to assassin and shadow tanking in SWTOR patch 2.5, which was eliminating the assassin self-heals with Force Lightning. There are other changes, but the focus of this video is Dark Protection, so that's what I'm going to focus on. Full disclosure, I main a Juggernaut tank, so I'm no assassin expert, and my stats are less than ideal, as you can see in the character sheet. So take my opinions on the subject with a grain of salt. I'm making this video because I really enjoy the assassin tank playstyle prior to 2.5, and I'm considering switching to the assassin for operations progression. So I've got the standard, or fairly standard, 37.5 and 4 assassin tank build with basically just the, this is going to come important here later on, the reduced force cost of some of the abilities, including shock. So first part of the video, I'm really only going to use stealth, wither, thrash, shock, maul, force lightning, and lacerate. This is just going to illustrate the different ways to proc energize, harness darkness, and dark protection without all the clutter on my bar down here. I'm going to leave my character sheet open so you can see how the procs and buffs affect defensive stats. Mostly we're going to be looking at the DR, the damage reduction here. I'm not going to worry about Dark Ward or any of that kind of stuff. I just want to focus on the dark protection maintenance for this video, so I've disabled all the buffs. So the stuff to watch out for is going to be stealth. You can see here the little purple buff. Exiting stealth now grants 4 stacks of dark protection, which is going to make starting encounters from stealth very important. With that dark protection, you can see here, with that dark protection you get a 1% damage reduction buff. It stacks up to 4 times and lasts for 12 seconds. Each new stack refreshes the 12-second duration, and you can't lose just one. When it expires, you lose them all. The other thing to watch out for in this video is going to be Harness Darkness. You can see here, it's activated by Shock and also by Wither. 3 stacks, Force Lightning is going to grant Dark Protection, which is the same buff you saw when I exited Stealth earlier. 3 stacks is also going to make my Force Lightning immune to interrupts and pushback, and increases damage by 25%. We don't really care about that for the purpose of this video. It's really important to have the 3 stacks. If you only have 1 or 2, it really doesn't do anything for you at all. Finally, if I can get to proc here, it's going to be Energize. Let's see, here we go. Oop. Okay, there we go, Energize. This is a 30% chance to proc from any Thrash, Maul, Lacerate, or Assassinate attack. It's important here because it finishes the cooldown on Shock. It also gives you a guaranteed crit and works well with Recklessness, but again, that's really not the focus of the video here. So Dark Protection lasts for 12 seconds before it has to be refreshed. Of course, the global cooldown with 0% alacrity is 1.5 seconds. So you're going to lose some of your refresh time of that 12 seconds because of the global cooldown. So you really don't have 12 seconds to get 3 stacks of Harness Darkness and get your Force Lightning cast off before you lose the Dark Protection buff. Again, you gain Harness Darkness by using Wither and Shock, which have 9-second and 8-second cooldowns respectively. So you can see, with timing being fairly tight, resetting Shock's cooldown with Energized procs is pretty important. If you lose the buff completely, you may only get 3 stacks of Harness Darkness from Force Lightning instead of 4. You can sometimes still get 4, and I'm not really sure why that's inconsistent. Actually, that should be Dark Protection, sorry, that I'm talking about here. Sometimes I seem to only get 3, sometimes I get the full 4. I haven't really been able to figure out what causes that inconsistency. It may be just bad play on my part. So if you lose Dark Protection, you really need to complete the full 3-second Force Lightning channel on the next go-around, or you're going to be really far behind. Because remember, you get stacks added with each second of the channel. So as long as you maintain 4, you're golden. If you lose that 12-second buff, you got to pretty much start over again. So is the 4% DR something you need to keep up at all times? It's really going to depend on the encounter in your group, especially your healers, and it's going to depend on your defensive stats, mitigation, your gear, your strategy, and a bunch of other variables. So anyway, with that, I'm just going to go through the process here of procking those buffs so you can kind of see what the timing looks like compared to what it was, say, back in 2.4. So here I'm starting from stealth, and I'm going to get that as soon as I exit, which I'm not going to actually use the exit ability because that basically wastes an ability in key press. I'm just going to exit I'm going to go ahead and attack, and you'll see the dark protection buff pop up immediately with the 4 stacks. So, I mean, not that it really matters for this, but I actually have shock mapped to a scroll wheel, so I can just spam it basically because I want to cast it whenever it's off cooldown. It's such a high threat ability, you get the extra attack sometimes, and here what it's going to do is it's going to give you that harness darkness. So you can just kind of basically see here how you get those stacks, and if you lose them, it can be kind of tricky to get them all back up. The cool thing is, once I have this, let me go here. Once I have my 4 stacks, when I start to refresh, I can go ahead and break the channel without completing the full channel. I still have my 4 stacks. That's going to come in handy if you have to reposition or taunt in the middle of a channel or anything like that. So that's pretty much how those procs and buffs work. In the second part of the video here, I'm going to go ahead and re-enable all my buffs and everything. I'm going to rotate in a few more abilities that are going to illustrate a bit more realistic tanking encounter, more buffs to watch, taunts, cooldowns, etc. being used in combat. And as you can see, or as you're going to see, maintaining that dark protection buff becomes a lot more difficult when you got more things going on. It's not just because of the timing, but now you've got resource management issues, and you've got, you know, if you use an ability and it's going to throw you out from your 12 seconds because of the global cooldown, that can really be an issue for you. Force management, I never had any problems prior to 2.5, but now I'm really focusing on that energize proc and dark protection, which could be a mistake on my part, but I find myself using a lot more force. This can get better with practice, or maybe you're just a better player than I am. So you do get the benefit, again, like I said, from the reduced force cost of the Torment ability if you choose to spec into that. But I still, when I'm really going at it, I have a lot more difficulty with force management than I did previously. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw a few more abilities in here, and we'll see what it looks like in a simulated but more realistic environment. Okay, well that's pretty much it. Hope that helps out a little bit and understand some of the changes with dark protection, and thanks for watching.